What is up on a Thursday night, my demons? Yes, it is that time again. The interview that I had scheduled for Tuesday with Maurice McCoy from Flashtainment LLC is rescheduled for next Tuesday. And Genghis, so sorry about that. I didn't get a chance to tell you that, but it is rescheduled for next Tuesday, so look for it then. But tonight, that's right, my children of the night, I do, in fact, have an amazing director by the name of Ryan Cavalline with us tonight. He is the director, producer, cinematographer for the film Guts on the Chainsaw. And it is a wonderful little piece of carnage candy. And before we get to that, let's take a quick commercial break to the Amazeballs tattoo company known as Villain Arts Tattoos. Check it out. That's right. Again, Villain Arts, not just a tattoo convention, but a family of artists of all kinds. And if you've seen anything from that commercial that you can take away, you definitely know that. There's a lot of sideshow performers, all kinds of stuff. Myself and Mischief will be there in Kansas City in May. So get ready for that one, Kansas City, because we're bringing hell with us. So come on down, hang out with us, and let's have a good time. So, man, one of my personal favorite topics that we have tonight, we have the great Ryan Cavalline from Legend Hunter Films, and his current film is Guts on the Chainsaw. It's always great to have a director on. I love having actors on. I do it a lot, but it's great to kind of like get with and into the mind of the person that comes up with the vision. So here we are. Thank you for joining us tonight. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I totally appreciate it. Like 1,000 thank yous.
Absolutely. And to all of our viewers out there, hello. And definitely share the shit out of this. Anyone out there that was ever interested in getting into indie horror film as far as an actor, maybe you're an FX person or anything, this is definitely a good interview for you. So share it out.
Share it. Get it out there.
Please. Because that's what we're about here at the Underground. Everything that it is underground, because the best art is, and I will always say this, fuck the mainstream, it is underground. So we're talking about indie horror film. So you have quite a laundry list of very awesome films. So
I don't know about awesome, but I got a list of them. Yeah.
Yes, you do. So obviously one of my first questions is always this. And I know it's probably just because of a love of horror,
Mhm.
but usually when, we're in a situation like this, people are always like, this is why I want to act in horror films. So what made you want to direct it?
Oh, just the love of horror. I loved it since I was a kid, and I think most people that love horror loved it since they're kids. They just grow from it, and or there's one film that touches them deeply, and that's just embedded in them that I love horror from now on out. And that film for me was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I will always be near and dear to Ryan's little heart. I just and that was like the clouds lifted and the angels started singing. I'm like forever to Leatherface, right?
The unholy ones.
From here on out. And then I live in the backwoods of Pennsylvania. The same stuff could happen here, and that's kind of how a lot of my films have happened, like folklore and what have you. So
I've always said that folklore, myths, legends
mhm,
always make for good screenwriting.
right,
And you touch upon this definitely in Guts on the Chainsaw, as it is kind of based on some Pennsylvania folklore.
right.
So, how far back does this legend go?
I don't know exactly how far it goes back, but 3 years ago, I was doing a documentary called Myths and Mutants, and it was about folklore in Pennsylvania. And we came across one called the Albino Cannibals of Pennsylvania. These hillbilly white people that lived up in the mountains and would kidnap people and cause havoc and what have you. Was there truth to the story? I don't know, but in that area, they truly believe these people lived up in the mountains. So, so I got done with the film and I put it out, and that one little film, the Albino Cannibals, really caught a lot of attention, and it got attention on a lot of Texas Chainsaw Facebook pages, and we took it to a film festival and we won with that short. So, I'm like, boy, we really got to explore this better. So
Absolutely.
it led into Guts on the Chainsaw, basically.
Definitely. Because I mean, it doesn't just kind of touch upon Texas Chainsaw, but it touches upon, like, let's say, Wrong Turn,
Yeah,
as well as oh my goodness,
Hills Have
The
Eyes.
Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
another one. So it's kind of like you, with this film, touch
mhm.
upon all those great classics.
Sure, sure.
Has it been compared to those?
More of the Hills Have Eyes, only because we talked about a lot of nuclear waste. But the funny part is, where we were filming, they were actually testing nuclear jet engines years ago during World War II in the forest area we were filming in, and they literally dumped nuclear
Oh.
waste into the ground up there. So that is true to some degree to where we were living. So, um, it's crazy how life imitates art, and it's all there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's
You
not
know,
true. Like, yeah,
yeah, there's always, some of those conspiracy theorists and stuff out there. It's
yeah.
like some of the shit legit happened. That's why there are ghost towns, there are wastelands, whatever you want to call them.
Oh yeah.
So it's why is that so far fetched to believe that somehow, it would change life
Mhm.
in those areas? I
Right.
mean, the mountains there, the forests. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, being an Ohio native myself, I've been to Pennsylvania mostly because I've done some tours there as a
Mhm.
musician. Just beautiful,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful forests there.
Beautiful, but it's got like its own ghosts. It's creepy up in here, you know.
Anytime you think of areas like that, it's like that's the easiest way to hide a body.
Oh yeah, they'll never find the ones I buried already. I mean, there's no way.
Dun dun dun. And it's really interesting the way you took this film. So, this girl has been plagued by nightmares, that she's
Mhm.
been chased by somebody with a chainsaw and covered in somebody else's face. So
Right,
there's obviously like that Texas chainsaw feel
right,
right there, but she doesn't know if it's real or not.
right.
So she
Uh,
ventures off. Now, this is so interesting because I don't know too many people that could have lived through something like that would actually want to go back and just try to see if it's real.
Right.
How did this like come about in your script writing?
Uh, before I even got into it, I was doing a lot of research on hikers that gone missing. Fascinated by it. So many hikers go
Oh,
missing,
there's so many.
and they're never found. And like,
Never.
and they're just right off the trail. They go missing, or with families with other hikers, and they go missing and never found again. It's the strangest phenomenon I've ever. I was researching on, and it happens a lot down in Kentucky, I believe it was, uh,
Mm.
or Tennessee, down that way. Where these
Oh, I
people,
could definitely see that in Tennessee.
yeah, where these hikers would go off miles into the woods, and they'd run across feral people living. Like literally to this day, they're still finding people living deep in those woods. To me, that's fascinating, and why isn't that being explored enough? But I thought, with all that information that I gathered, let's do it in Pennsylvania, because it ran with the albino cannibals and what have you. And I was just kind of tired of a lot of stories where the people are going on a camping trip and they run across someone, like that's been done, beaten up to a degree that I don't want to
Oh,
ever.
it definitely has.
I'm like, oh
Yes.
my god, what can we do differently? Just something different. And Nikki, who played in the movie, she's like, what about that whole story with I can't remember the name of the movie. The girl goes on a hike. She was a drug addict, and she's trying to kind of flesh out her life again, which was another movie, and I can't think of the name of it. I'm like, so basically, we stole that idea to some degree, but threw in chainsaws.
You kind of conjoined the idea.
I conjoined it. That's a better word, yes. But the whole idea was like, what she went through, did it really happen? And she just all messed up on drugs? Well, best way to find out is just go through the trip again and flesh out the ideas, whether or not she's nuts or it really happened. Guess what? It really happened.
And how is that, to me, because this day and age, every horror goer is about realism.
Right.
So how is that far-fetched to say that somebody who was whacked out on, cocaine, alcohol, whatever, she said whatever she could get her hands on,
right.
And not remember the experience, because it's traumatic.
Right.
And the first thing we do is suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
And
slowly it comes out,
Yeah. And, I love that, that bridge of dreaming to reality, because often things that we suppress come out in dreams and we're like, well, shit, was that really real?
Oh, absolutely.
So I really loved that idea. And
it was a way to keep the script and budget down too.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, the acting's got to be there a little bit, and we'll keep the cost down. That works for me,
Sure, absolutely. How long did it take you to do the shoot? Because the area that you picked is vast.
I want to say 3 months worth, but we weren't doing it on a regular basis because we still all have day jobs.
Gotcha.
Literally, there'd be days if she had time off or I could get away. We'd run and shoot a scene and come back and go back to work. Like that's how fast. I mean, it was guerrilla filmmaking completely.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of
and I think that's where the grittiness of it kind of comes from.
Oh yeah. I love the gritty, old fashioned, raw footage type of shooting. I mean, just gun. That's the best realistic look you're gonna get.
And it doesn't look like it was like somebody with a cell phone camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the things I always look for. Like, does the grit of the way it looks, does it make me feel like, we're there? But it doesn't look so fake that,
I'm a big fan of throwing the tripod to the side and it handheld it. I just tripod's getting away.
For sure. Sometimes it's good for like overcast, or some people use drones and stuff like that to catch some of the overhead. And I just kind of feel the way you captured it, it's just fucking top notch.
Thank you. You.
There's so much indie horror that ends up on like Tubi and, Amazon Prime and stuff like that. They just don't look good. I love the way this looks because it draws you into this world.
Right.
And like I said, to me, Myths and Legends really does kind of grip somebody that, we're watching this, but at the same time, it's like in the back of your mind, this shit very much might have happened.
I'm a big fan of like horror films that could possibly happen. Like that just intrigues me more. Like the Texas Chainsaw, as
Hmm.
far fetched as that might have been in some degree, but it could
To a
happen.
degree.
It could happen in some backyard, in some farm somewhere far, far away. Actually, that was my great grandparents. They lived on this farm way out in the middle of nowhere, and it always freaked me out because that old farm smell and how they lived was
Ooh.
just very poorly. And like I'm like, gee,
Almost like
something
a
could happen.
stench of death in the
Right,
air.
right. Like and mothballs. I don't know why mothballs, but that was always there. But I'm like, this stuff could happen. Like, and you could disappear and no one would ever find you again.
I
And
always felt
that's
that way
scary.
about the Hannibal the Cannibal
Right.
movies, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Like that shit could happen.
Yeah.
No one would know.
No. And I'm sure it does, and I don't want to really believe it, but it probably does to some degree somewhere. You know,
But no
trafficking
better
happens.
place than no
Yeah,
better place than the mountains and
yeah.
vast forests where you don't know who's out there.
Especially in the forest, and you're by yourself. The forest takes a character of itself. You know,
Oh, it so does.
it's
I think that's
so
why the Blair Witch Project was so believable at that time.
right, right, because it takes a character of its own. The forest, and then if you're alone, that's two things. You know, so you're
Hmm.
alone. Is your mind playing tricks on you? I mean, I would never go hiking by myself over a couple of days through the forest. No, nah, that's just you don't know what's out
Shit
there.
goes on for miles.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
What if
freaky.
you can't find your way out? You know, cell service isn't the greatest. You know.
Yeah, and sometimes you come out of those woods and you end up at a spot where it's not on your map.
Right. I hope you can read a map. You know, what if you can't?
Especially nowadays because people really kind of rely on cell phones,
Yeah.
GPS. When you're out in the thick of it, though,
Yeah.
the shit don't work.
I'm surprised people can read a compass. What does that S mean?
No doubt. So, just kind of getting back to the film,
Yeah.
there's a character in there that just totally reminded me of Bill Moseley. She encounters this guy who's just kind of sitting there doing his own thing, some desolate, like little spot.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, I don't know if it's a barn or a shack or something like that. And he engages her, and of course, he's not very nice.
But
Was that kind of did you plan for that to happen, to have him act that way? Because I thought he did a really good job. He
like,
reminded me of Platehead.
yeah, yeah, and it's funny. He's kind of played those characters before, but I just wanted some
Oh, okay.
I just wanted some comic relief time, just to kind of ease up, just a little bit of like. I mean, it's creepy, but yet it's not. It's a little bit of a chuckle how he interacts with this girl because he doesn't see too many people, you know. And he's like, "Hey, you want to stay for some possum jerky or some cuddle time?" You know. It was just kind of to break up the monotony of the seriousness. Let's just have a little laugh for a moment before we dive back into madness. You know.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, he was perfect.
Yeah, Pete Blussel is his name. He does these small cameos in my films because he can't get away for like long shoots, but I always get him in there for something. He's been doing films with me for 20 years, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't want big roles, just one dayers. That's good. He's got shit to
Now,
do, I guess.
this movie is now out, right? So,
Yes.
where can people find it? Where can they buy it?
It's actually on Amazon right now to rent or buy. I guess that's how it works. DVDs are available at legendhunterfilms.com, and it should be on other streaming venues probably this summer. I don't know exactly because they never tell me when.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the trick, finding distributors and
Oh,
where you can get it seen.
that's a learning curve on its own right there.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So you've got like I said, quite a lot of films under your belt.
Mhm.
What was your very first film?
I have a lot of films that are just in a safe somewhere that'll never be seen. The first film I had.
That's scary in and of itself.
Yeah, it's funny. A while ago, someone tried to put out. They put out an old film because it was an anthology, and I emailed them right away. I'm like, get that shit down. I don't want that shit from 1998 out there. And they're like, well, why? It's good stuff. I'm like, no, it's not. I don't want my old shit from like when I was in high school. No. So the first film was Demon Slaughter that we actually got distribution for.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And that was through Brain Damage Films. And God bless them at that time. I think they were just grabbing any title they could throw out there. And that was a huge learning curve through Brain Damage Films. And Darren took a few of my films back in the day, and I learned what distribution is and what to do and not do. So, well, I mean, we've done distribution with quite a few people, SRS Cinema. Right now, we do a lot with Wild Eye releasing.
Nice.
Rob's been super good with us. But yeah, you really got to learn. You got to learn as a filmmaker how to do the path of distribution, because someone could rip you off real quick.
Yeah, it's definitely a slippery slope.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you do like a lot of Indiegogo type stuff to try to fund the stuff, or do you do it independently?
I do complete independently.
Nice.
Back when we did Demon Slaughter, we actually had a small return. I always put that money aside, and then we made the next movie off that money. And it's been a cycle for 20 years of money, movies from last year, whatever we got paid on is the money we're going to use to make the next movie. I've never done Indiegogo, and I don't, if you're a filmmaker and you want to do that, that's in your hands, and I do good luck with it. My issue is there's a lot of filmmakers that use it, and they take the money and it disappears. A lot of people give money to that, and they never see the film. And be very careful who you're giving money to, I guess, is my advice to people, because
for sure,
check their background, see if they actually finish the films or if they have other films out there, because and there's people that abuse it too. I think they raise a lot of money and then they take the money and go pay their bills, and they'll use a small chunk of that to go make a movie and say, hey, there's the movie. Well, I watch a lot of stuff that gets Indiegogo or funded, and I'm like, you didn't spend that much money on that film. I can tell you how much you spent on that, and you just ripped off a bunch of people. So I know there's a lot of
unless you're using, some notable actors,
right?
But
I know there's filmmakers out there that use it correctly, but I tell a lot of people that give money to those things, be very careful. Kind of check out those people before you give any dime to them.
Oh, definitely. You should have a good sense of, is this really happening? You can kind of expect when it's going to come out, because so much indie film it takes forever.
Oh yeah,
for the film to actually come out.
And another thing is like, I feel like you want to support us, rent the movie, buy the movie. That money comes back somehow. That's how we keep going. We have good years, we have bad years, but here's how much you have to make a movie, make it work. You're underground. You got to make it work somehow.
For sure. I mean, and it all starts with passion.
Right.
And you can definitely tell that. So let's talk about some of the other ones that you actually have sequels for, which is really cool. Dead Body Man.
Oh, Dead Body Man.
Hell of a title.
Well, that's another angle I've learned over the years. I guess, if you're flipping through Tubi or Amazon, you see a title and it's something wacky, you're going to stop and look at it.
That is so true.
And I've had this discussion with distributors before, because I've had people say, can you change the title? I'm like, no.
No kidding.
Yeah, because I've said, how many times you've gone through Tubi and you've just seen some rare, weird title and you're like, I just got to look to see what this is. No, great example is, I can't remember the filmmaker's name. He's from Ohio. They did Don't Fuck in the Woods and Don't Fuck in the Woods Part 2. And I ran across one too. I'm like, what the hell is that? I got to look. I got to watch this. No matter what. So titles, think about your titles when you're making movies, because like down the road, you want your audience to be like, what the hell is that? So with the Dead Body Man movies, that was, we had this idea for a serial killer that turned into this like comic routine of just, his name was Willie, and he heard the devil, or it was God, telling him to go kill prostitutes and bad people. And we just kind of ran with it, as absurd as we could make.
Almost has kind of like a Seven feel to it.
It was our trauma movies, I like to call them, because they were just
gotcha.
absurd. And
Very.
and they had a small following for a while. I mean, I've had people ask me, "Are you going to make a sequel to that?" I'm like, "It's been 13 years. I don't think I want to go back to it." But if someone really wants it, I guess we'll make it. But yeah, it's funny because 13 years later, a friend of mine said there's these kids at this college that have Dead Body Man marathons. I said, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, they watched it, all three of the films, and they have a big party and they love it. I'm like, well, I got to
It's
go to this
almost like
college.
it's
It's
almost like
great.
the Scream films,
Yeah,
like the high schools that would do like the Stabathon.
right, right. I'm like, that's the shit. I said, well, tell me when they're having it. We'll just show up, and I'll go get Eddie Benovich, who played Willie, and we'll just show up and do our stick, But that hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping it does.
That'd be badass shit.
I'm like, shit, yeah. So it's crazy how old films come back to haunt you.
For sure. And sometimes you just don't know how your films, strike people.
Right.
I learned that through Joel Winecoop that I had on before. He's like, I never know who's really watching or how well it does until somebody goes, "Oh shit, I remember you from the."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I believe it.
My favorites if we do conventions and we have a table and like people come up and start asking me questions about shit I don't even know. I'm like, how do you even know that? Like, did I write it somewhere? Did you hack my email? Like they'll ask you, and these guys are living in somebody's basement and they don't get out much, and that's okay. And I love them and thank you for buying the movies, but I'm like, why do you know that? And why are you asking me that? That's just the weirdest shit. Like,
there's really something to be said about B horror fans.
yeah,
Like it's just so much more of a cult following because you don't get all the glitz, the glamour,
right,
the overproduction, the overacting in some cases that you get with mainstream horror films, and people just connect better.
oh, absolutely, and they
I mean,
follow
come
it.
on, let's take The Nun for example,
Mm-hmm.
or even Annabelle.
Right.
Nobody really connected with any of those films, and they had these big budgets and they're supposed to be so spooky, so scary, and they were fucking stupid. You know what I mean?
Bad. They're not even
They
about
were.
the real folklore or the stories. They're not even really based on anything. And like when you start doing digital effects for scary movies, they just look bad. I don't care. You gotta go back to the old days of like The Exorcism or The Exorcist.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
That film was so practical.
Right.
Very little, over the top this or that.
No digital shit where they're climbing up the walls and turning heads. Like that just takes me out of the reality of what's happening. I'm like, this is just stupid. Someone just had a bad afternoon with CGI.
And that was one of the cool things I really kind of enjoyed about Guts on the Chainsaw is, when things would happen, somebody would get shot or, get an axe to the stomach or something like that. Blood would hit the camera. Right. I love that shit.
Yeah. You gotta make it bloody. You gotta make it gory.
Oh, you have to make it gory.
Even if you do it digitally, make it gory,
Sure, absolutely.
Now, we do digital effects in ours only because I can't shoot someone in the head. You can't put squibs on someone's head. And it's just, I can't blow up buildings, but, there's ways around it, I guess. So,
well, it was very sparingly.
Right. Don't overdo it. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes, like, if you're taking the sledgehammer to somebody, it can be like a dummy.
Right. Right.
But, just a practical effect.
Right. Keep it simple, but, keep your costs down. That's the main thing. Keep your costs down. Digital effects will cost a lot after a while, so be selective.
Absolutely. And it looks like there was a lot of people that were involved in that film. So, between effects people and, so it's not like you're skimping on value.
Try to put every dollar on the screen, like every dollar you can, make it the best B indie film you can make,
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever had any roles within your film?
I've done a few small ones because if the Dead Body Mans, I did a small role just because the person didn't show up. So I'm like, damn it, I'll just do it.
Oh shit!
It's just as simple as
I
I
mean,
try.
if you're an indie actor, why the fuck wouldn't you show up?
I try to stay out of it. I'm like, I like behind the camera. I don't like being in front of it. I like telling you what to do. Like, go do that, and shoot them in the head. I just not my
I
forte.
was gonna say, what does it feel like being on the other side?
Stress. When you're the director and producer at the same time, you got to make sure everything's arranged, everything's ready to go, and then trying to delegate everyone through the ship as best as possible.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, do you find yourself kind of directing as you're acting?
Uh, I love directing. That's my favorite part. Uh, it's it's the days when uh, people come and they're not prepared. That's frustrating. You know,
Mm,
or they get nervous, extremely nervous, and don't know how to. So it takes a little longer to kind of walk through everything. But I try to be as patient as possible. I'm like, here,
well,
have
when
a
you're
shot. Now go.
right. When you're looking for people to act, like, how do you go about trying to find the right people?
I got like a few I've worked with over the years. I just call them for certain parts. If it's new stuff, I'll just. I have a nice big community of people I can reach out to and be like, hey, I'm
Nice.
looking for someone to do this or something like that. Like the new film we're doing right now, we're actually shooting Saturday. I was like, I need an older
Oh,
lady
cool.
about 80, and like I didn't know anyone, a lady old enough and would be cool enough to do what we're doing. A friend of mine's like, I got the woman for you. So I met this lady named Darling. I'm like, are you okay with the dialogue? It's kind of like, she's like, I'm fine with it. I'll, take the shotgun and shoot him in the effing balls. And,
Oh
I'm like,
shit!
you're the lady, man. You're my
They're
shit,
the
man.
best, though.
Yeah. She's like, I don't give a shit. Like, where were you all my life?
You know what I always kind of find about actors, actresses that are much older like that?
Yeah.
They're sassy,
Oh, yeah.
and they're not afraid to show it.
They
So
don't
if they're
care.
able to like do it on camera, it's like not a big deal.
No, no. I'm like, I was embarrassed. I'm like, I don't want to hear you say nasty stuff.
But
She
that
was
makes
great.
for some of the best film, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's comedic effect.
Yeah. That's
Sid Haig was great for that.
oh, he was just a natural, just to kind of he
Oh
just
my
let it.
goodness.
Whatever he said was just the coolest shit. It didn't matter what he could have burped and it would have been cool. I
For
miss
sure.
that
He's
guy.
like he's one of my heroes,
Yeah,
when I think of acting, mannerisms, the way he
yeah,
delivers. Half the time I think it's not even the actual lines printed. I think
right.
it just comes off the top of
Oh
his
yeah,
head. They just
Rob
say, and go.
Rob Zombie's got an act for finding people that just fit perfectly. I mean, as
Well,
much as you know,
he
Rob
was a
does
huge
Rob.
fan of the 70s.
Yeah, and he's like that guy would be great on this role, and that he just knew how to cast.
What is your favorite period of horror, actually?
Uh, Probably the '80s. Go back to the old school stuff. Now I watch that stuff. I'm like, wow, how did I like that as a kid? But fuck it, I like it.
Oh, it still has its flavor.
Yeah,
Any of the flaws, I mean, it just depends on, what films, you like the most. Like, besides Texas Chainsaw, what else kind of grabbed you from the 80s?
oh
Because, I mean, that was when like trash horror
yeah, it was great
and
though.
mainstream horror was just constantly back and forth, back and forth. Do you
Yeah.
have any favorites from that period?
Oh well, the Evil Dead movies are always going to be in the top five. Like the
Oh,
Freddy
yeah.
Krueger movies, like up to three, I think were great. Jason will always be Jason. I love that stuff. Halloween will always be Halloween, other than the new stuff. But uh, just the old school slasher films were just that was like those were our superheroes. Remember?
They really were.
I don't give a shit about Spider-Man. What's Jason Voorhees hacking up? That was our thing, and that's such a beautiful era. We'll never have that again. Never.
No, but I think we can kind of get close,
Close,
as
yeah.
long as, directors and writers like you
Uh,
keep trying to, convey some of that, but with keeping with the times
yeah.
at the same time. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to do a role for a Friday the 13th fan film,
Oh, there you go.
which I'm looking forward to because I feel like those fan films, Vengeance Part 1, Part 2, they're really keeping the genre alive.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know the big studios, the big boys, they're about to do a series,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how series go.
Pretty
It's
washed
either going to
down.
be great or it's going to fucking suck.
Most of the time they suck. You know what's great is the fan films are actually better than the real films.
You know, and I've witnessed it, man. I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
I have to go back to Jason Brooks and Vengeance Part 2.
Yeah.
That shit was phenomenal.
It was great stuff. Even
It gave you a taste of what was back then
right.
and putting it in the now, and it fucking worked so good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually think there's so many fans out there that want some of that 80s back, and indie film is great for that.
We can get away with it.
Exactly. There's no big studio saying, "Oh, you can't do that or you can't do this." I mean, let's look at the Art the Clown stuff. Holy shit.
Terrifier, love it. I love it. There's our new superhero. It's a clown that's just fucked up. Love it.
Exactly.
Part 2 was a little too long, but
and then you talk to David Howard Thornton, and he's like this down-to-earth, bubbly, great guy. And it's like,
super nice
you
guy.
just sawed someone in half.
Yeah. Yeah, the second one was amazing. A little too long for me, but I mean, I just love what they're doing with it. It's great stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and let's see here. The main guy, I guess he's like the dad of Guts on the Chainsaw. Mm-hmm. He was in the Myths and Mutants. Is that
correct? Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I definitely saw the connection there. That mask is amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. Now, did you create that, or did like a FX person do it?
I had a friend of a friend who dabbles in it a lot, did it, but then I added some stuff to it, like the barbed wire and some of the rope to it. But yeah, we had it made in house basically. Yeah,
that's a beautiful effect. I love the way it looks, because it almost looks like it could be the guy's face.
Well, that's the nice part, because the bottom part was open, and Dave, who played the part, has a big beard, and it was coming out, and he made it look scarier than what it was. I think he just added to it. Just his face just fit perfectly into it.
For sure.
Wear this and walk with in a mean look, and he did it.
So previous to that film, you did Mountain Devil, Part 2. I
did around 2010. I kind of got burnt out with horror, if you can believe that. I guess making horror films, because at the time, we'd sign them to distributioners and we'd get a few pennies back, and I'm just like, this is just a circle. It was kind of tapering off a bit. I said, let's go. Let's try to make some documentary stuff. And like, I was fascinated with Bigfoot at the time. So, yeah, I mean, so I started making this Mountain Devil documentary, which took 2 years, and it kind of hooked on, and people really liked it. So we ended up making a 2 and a 3. And I kind of did a lot more of documentaries for a few years. Like I did The Exorcism Prayer and Myths and Mutants, some other kind of off horror stuff, just to kind of change up things a bit. But you think the horror fans are dedicated? You should see the Bigfoot community. That's a completely different world.
Oh, man.
Oh. So we did a few of those films, and I'm like, I got to go back to the horror people, because they're normal. Not to be mean, but I'm just like, everyone I've talked to seen a Bigfoot. I'm like, no,
they're just so passionate about it. They want it proved so bad, so they can go around and tell everybody, I told you so.
Right. Until you have a dead one laying on a table. Do they exist? I'm a hopeful believer. I hope it's possible. Until I see a dead one on a table.
Well, and that's what I think really kind of punches home the Guts on the Chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's so believable. And like I said, fans of horror that are like coming up in this generation are all about the realism.
Right.
So, you said, I'm trying to remember. Did you say it's won some awards, or maybe that was the the short before that.
The short we did called Albino Cannibals. It was just a short piece, and yeah, we won a Spirit Award at a film festival, and I'm like, what? We were there, and I'm like, and then they showed it and what have you, and like a couple days later, they're like, hey, we want to give you the award for what? I'm like, really? I'm like, well, we definitely got to make a full length movie now, It's kind of
That's
how
awesome. It's all about being humble.
Right. I'm like, well, thank you, and that's just how the sun and the moon all kind of lined up, and we're like, well, back to the crazy guy with the chainsaw.
Have you sent this off, to some of the film festivals?
I think I sent off to 2, but they're like later this year, so we don't know if we've even been
Gotcha.
included. So I was hoping maybe a Halloween run we could do somewhere, but we just had a showing in at Cinema Wasteland in Ohio.
Gotcha.
For Guts and the Chainsaw, and there was more people that showed up for that showing than I had at the premiere. I mean, we must have like I don't know how many people in that room, and I like to judge people when they're watching it, so I'll sit way in the back. So a lot of people didn't leave, so that's always my first thing. Hey, all right, we're entertaining them, we're keeping their interest. And then after the film, we were like, what you think? And I was filming some people, and Olivia Brown walked by. And I didn't know who she was offhand. And then I filmed her, and she's like, oh, I thought it was great. We really loved it, blah, blah, blah. And my buddy was with me. He's like, you know who that was? I'm like, no. And he's like, Olivia Brown. She was on Miami Vice and Hill Street Blues and all these TV shows. I'm like,
holy shit.
I'm like, and she just sat through my movie. I got to go give her a free copy. God bless her heart. But she's like, oh, yeah, I thought it was great for an indie film. You did great. I said, there's great lighting. That's all I care. I'm like, she was such a sweet lady about it. But it was just so cool to be sitting with a huge audience, knowing that there would be actresses sitting in there watching it,
Oh, man, there's just nothing more gratifying than that.
Yeah.
People that have been doing, movies and television for so long.
Yeah, I was grateful someone showed up. I'm like...
So, what's it like at cons for you? What's like as far as like fans and stuff? Who shows up the most?
Well, like we did a lot of cons back in the day, and then I kind of took a break, and we kind of were doing more of the Bigfoot conventions, and then we just started doing more conventions or horror conventions this year. But it's a wide variety of people that come up to you. Like I said, like these people know more about you than I do. Sometimes I'm like, how do you know that? Why do you know that? But with Nikki being in the movie, like a lot of people are more interested in her because she's the pretty girl, and I'm just the ugly mug behind the camera. So, they want to take pictures with her and get her autograph and what have you. So it's kind of like a rebirthing for me personally, kind of getting back to the horror and having this as our jump off to go back into the horror world. And it's been really good. I can't complain. We really, I think, did a super job coming out of the gate, and everyone seems to be liking it. So hopefully the next one will hold up or be better. I don't know. You never know how these things are going to go.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Are you like some of these cons, are you there with, some notable actors and stuff like that?
I just take my crew with me, whoever wants to go. And we just hang out for a weekend. Yeah. Well,
no, I mean like from other films.
Oh, yeah. It's usually a whole big venue of B-movie actors or people that have done films. Like the one we were at, there was a whole Texas Chainsaw reunion. So I can't remember the guy who played Kirk in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Him and I were
okay.
Yeah, hanging out at the bar bullshit, and I'm like, I gotta give you a copy of my movie because it's really based on the Texas Chainsaw. And they're just so nice people. They're just so gracious that you love that stuff and you're there for them, and it's like kind of giving back to them in some way. It's like, thank you for years ago. You kind of changed my life, and you don't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what drives us to do what we do.
Yeah. Horror is the most creative field we can be in. We can do just about anything. There's no limits to how screwed up of a movie you can make or story.
Yeah, but if you write a script that will resonate with people,
right?
That's what really sets you apart from so many other filmmakers.
You got to get those feelings. You got to grab their feelings a little bit and talk.
You do. It's like, even if it's like their worst fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's nothing more real than that, because there are people that are keeping the, psychiatrist's office booming and booming over, fears that they have that, can be realized.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what's great about
Yeah.
film.
Okay,
So,
right. Yeah.
hell
So
yeah.
I think for you probably too, this is kind of our therapy.
Very much so.
If I mean, I don't want to talk to a therapist because they'll just say, Ryan, you're bad at life. So, so I tell my friends this all the time. If I didn't be creating of some sort, like I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's our art. It's a dark art, but it's also very real at the same time.
Right.
We just kind of bring some of the not so nice topics out to the forefront that nobody wants to talk about.
Right. Why does no one want to talk about the guy with the skinned face and the chainsaw? I mean, that's a great topic to talk about.
And it is, because it's like, what would you do in that scenario?
Right.
There's like so many of these, places where they have a saw room that you can pay, people pay ridiculous amounts of money for,
right,
to go see how they would fare in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, what if some big, burly dude wearing somebody else's face as a mask comes up to you with a chainsaw or a sledgehammer? How would you fare?
That's why I love going to the haunted houses, during Halloween.
Yeah.
And they're
the
like
haunt interest, the haunt industry is like
booming,
priceless, and there's so much talent there.
Yeah. So
all of them should be in film.
When the girls are screaming because of the guy with the chainsaw, I'm standing there like flapping my arms, like this is the greatest thing ever.
Exactly. We're the ones like fucking clapping and going, yeah, get that bitch.
Yeah, let me get a selfie. Come on.
I love it.
Love it.
Oh,
there should be more theme parks that are just horror related. Theme parks with just horror.
And year round.
Year round, yeah.
It really should be.
I think we're
all right. We're going to take a quick commercial break because there is a new single out right now. Actually, for two bands, we're going to run two. Nice. The first one is going to be from the band Iron Serpent. There is a new single out and soon to be lyric video for the track The Gods Weep. Check it out. Currently out right now on all streaming platforms, Spotify, all of them. So, get out there, check it out. It's a banger, and it's the last single that's being released by Iron Serpent before the EP drops. So check that shit out.
That was good stuff.
Thank you.
I did. I like that.
I'm actually the drummer.
Oh,
so I just didn't want to preface that. But
You
yeah,
should.
that's our latest single. So
That's good. No, that was good stuff. I like that. You should probably throw in some more promotions through the show.
well, as a matter of fact, I would like to promote your current film, Guts on the Chainsaw.
Oh, I
So
appreciate it.
let's check out the trailer right now.
These people living in these mountains. If you see any of them, avoid them. Absolutely. I'm telling you, if you are a fan of Texas Chainsaw, Hills Have Eyes, this is the film for you. It's really good.
Thank you.
Definitely something you'll want to watch more than once. And that's saying a lot for a lot of horror films that come out nowadays. You're going to want to watch this one and you'll get gripped by it. And I'm telling you, check it out. It's currently on Amazon Prime. And you can get your copy of the Guts on the Chainsaw on legendhuntersfilms.com.
Bingo. Yeah, you got her. Yeah.
I was like, woo! A lot to say in one breath.
Thank you so much. I totally appreciate you pimping it out there and, check it out.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. I've always told my viewers and anyone that's a fan of the horror genre that there are so many diamonds in the rough as far as, indie horror goes, the ones that don't go to the big theater. It doesn't have to, people.
Right.
I've seen better films. We talked about Terrifier before. Saw that on Netflix. Never went to the theater.
No.
Just watched it on a whim and fucking loved it.
Absolutely.
Just as I did, I fell in love with your film as well. So
thank you. Thank you.
Check it out, people.
It's like the dollar bin. You gotta just dig in there a little bit. You'll find something there.
In so many ways, it's no different than when you find a new record.
Right.
You see the front cover, it draws you in somehow. You flip it over, read it a little bit.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you end up buying it just based off of that, and then you find a really nice surprise inside.
Yeah. It's like Christmas.
Exactly.
Why did I know about this?
Well, I absolutely continue to wish you success.
Thank you.
Especially, with this film. And can you tell us anything about the new project you got going on?
We started filming a film I'm calling Bullet Holes in Hell.
Ooh!
And, yeah, it's really...
I got my loins cooking.
See, it's about the title. The title is everything, right? It's basically the Faust. You know the German folklore of Faust and the guy that sold his soul.
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah, so but we're gonna do a female version, but like gangster style with a lot of horror in there. So it's really a different type of film. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a storyline like this. So it's I think it's gonna be kind of cool. It's gonna be different.
Damn, I wish I would have known about it. I would love to be a part of it.
Just come up. Just drive up. We'll film some weekend. That's fine.
Stick around afterwards.
All right, boy.
Seriously.
So good.
That is definitely one story that I just absolutely love. It's like if you're presented with this deal to get all your dreams realized. What are you really willing to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
our version is going to be like, yeah, you can sell your soul for revenge, basically. So you get more time to go take care of what you need to. She doesn't care
hell
about the
yeah.
knowledge. She just wants revenge. So a girl with a shotgun and on a rampage, actually a bazooka on a rampage.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we're kind of going all balls out on this
He's
one.
packing a whole hell of a lot.
Oh yeah, so it's gonna be a good time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Very excited about that.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it has been an absolute blast hanging out with you. Hey, Kyler. Oh, shit. What's he say? I'm
Well, late. That's okay.
Late, pretty bad storm. Oh, brother, I hope you're being safe. I know Mother Nature is a motherfucker right now. So
She's
we are
angry.
with you.
Yeah, she's angry.
Oh, man. Everywhere.
Yeah.
The tornadoes out here in the Midwest has been, whoa.
You keep them.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want them either. So,
No. But a thousand thank yous for having me on. I totally appreciate it. Thank you for watching the movie. Thank you for pimping it.
Oh, absolutely.
My blessings to you for just everything. I appreciate it.
Definitely, we'll have you back on for your future projects, and with all the people that haven't really known about your films.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to the people out there in Three Witches Land?
Just check it out. That's the best way to support indie filmmaking. Just go check it out. Watch it. Like we just mentioned, you might just find a diamond in the rough, and you might just enjoy yourself. So that's the best way to support us. Just rent it, watch it, buy a DVD. Just do one of those, and we keep making them. So thank you.
That's right.
Oh.
Staying humble as usual, and they make them for you out there.
And my sanity. My own sanity. It's therapy. It's therapy 101.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Because we all go crazy sometimes.
Yeah, my bartender's tired of talking to me.
Thank you so much to
you,
everybody out there in Three Witches Land for tuning in tonight. And thank you, Ryan, for joining. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed your film, as I know so many of my viewers will enjoy it. Go check it out. It's out right now. Guts on the Chainsaw.
Thank you.
But, as you're getting ready to lay it down for the night, and you got your footies on and you're about to go to sleep, just remember to always stay heavy.
Riding in this wasteland, left the sun bleach the bones. Kiss the death in the palm of my hand.